So you wanted a SaaS for financial freedom and you have decided that you were going to create your own application. Congratulations, that's awesome. But now you are its prisoner. Today, you're going to see a CTO, me, telling you how to escape the vibe coding trap. It's really awesome that you have your great idea and you want to build it yourself, but it's very easy to become the prisoner of the system that you wanted to build. So I'm going to show you a few mistakes that I've seen many of my clients make in the past before I took care of them and help them build a better SaaS with better results or better financial freedom. So here's my core thesis. First of all, vibe coding is going to give you power, but you are the one who needs to give it control. The reality is that vibe coding is going to give you the power of an engineering team overnight, but it's just a team without a leader, and a team without a leader is just a mob. So today I'm going to show you how you cannot just stay a prompt writer and you need to become a real product architect. Even if you're not a coder, even if you don't have a lot of experience building, I'm going to show you that many of the mistakes that I see people make are not necessarily related to technicality. It's also related to a way of thinking. And here's six things that I think you need to change and that are probably going to cost you a lot. The first problem that I see is the Frankenstein architecture. This is uncontrolled code growth. This is when you try to add one more feature and it breaks something. So for example, you ask the AI to change something on your landing page and then suddenly it crashes your checkout system. Well, this is what happens when you're coding without a structure. You're getting something really messy. You ask the AI to add one more feature, one more feature, one more feature, but there's no really architecture in place. It happens to smaller companies, and it also happens to very bigger companies. For example, InVision, they used to be valued at 2 billions. They had a very tangled, messy architecture, and then there were some newer competitors like Figma that completely overtook them because Figma was way faster to build something without breaking. So there's a lot of ways that we are going to see together to avoid this Frankenstein architecture when you're just building a monster. One of them is to implement a system boundaries file where you force the AI to review your entire database map before writing anything. That's one way to do it. Another way that I like to do it is to force the AI to work inside of a system. For this, there are very good tools called GSD, Get Shit Done, or Paul. Let me find you GSD. I know it might look a little bit scary at first, but don't worry, it's not too hard. It's called, yeah, Get Shit Done. This is for people who like coding inside of the terminal. If you don't like the terminal, there's also other tools. For example, I love using open code into the terminal, even though I have a different version for it. I also have the GUI with a real window, but I prefer the terminal. Get Shit Done is really nice. You also have a version called the Paul as a competitor. Yeah, that's a very good way to start coding professionally. Even if you don't know how to code, at least it's going to force you to work like a system. The issue that I see is the 2 a.m. black box. I like to call it this way. That's when you have total operational dependency. Something goes down on your app, you got a bug, and you don't really know how it works because you just vibe coded it without really understanding it. Then you're asking the AI to fix it while the customers are just giving you angry phone calls or saying, "Why is your website down?" It happens to very big companies as well. Companies like AWS has outages, and this is when you get angry phone calls from the customers, and then you start losing money. This is something that happens when you either don't have a very good roadmap and you didn't have a very good blueprint to begin with, and also this is something that you can avoid by having monitoring tools in place and testing tools in place. So as you can see, I generated this. I actually vibe coded this presentation itself. Uh, Interestingly, it says that mandate an AI generated runbook. That's one way of using it. In everyday life, if you have your AI write down the errors and the exact prompts you need to fix them, that's one thing. I would even put this inside of a skill if I had to do it myself. Third problem is the open front door. This one is a killer. This is when you have invisible security vulnerabilities. So here's something you need to understand. AI looks very nice when you want to build an MVP, but it's really trying to code something as fast as possible that looks beautiful, but it's really not very sensitive to safety. You risk exposing your entire customer database to the public, and then you're going to have lawsuits and heavy fines, especially if, for those of you who are in Europe, you are legally responsible if there's any issues related to a data leak with GDPR. Same in America with HIPAA, anything that is related to health, it's your responsibilities. It can cost you 2 million euros a fine. First American financial exposed almost a billion private records because their code allowed users to view files by changing a number in the URL. Maybe you've seen this app called T. This was supposed to be a safety app for women, where their own data were leaked because the URL was just blah blah blah. She was stuck. Sally was stalked by her ex-boyfriend. He would turn up at work. Then she used a US-based tea-taking advice app, which could flag if potential partners were married or sex offenders, blah, blah, blah. And then, here's the thing, the app was hacked, 70,000 images were leaked and posted, blah, 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 including IDs and driver's licenses. So yeah, this happened because the URL was just visible plainly inside of the browser. Uh, so yeah, when you vibe code something, this is the kind of issues that you might have. And if this is your app getting hacked because of this, well, it's not even a hack, it's just using the data that is available. Then yeah, you are the one who's going to pay for that. Luckily, there are tools for that. There's some logging tools, there's some security, safety AI tools. I've been seeing people use Sentry or Datadog. And there's even some services online that use adversarial AI audits where you paste code inside of a fresh session, command it, act as a malicious hacker, find the flaws and secure them. If you're new to coding, maybe that might be a little bit overkill for you. I wouldn't do this from the very beginning, but what I would do is I would ask the AI a lot to how to understand the best safety practices, whether the AI is really sure that it's doing the things the safe way. So for example, the front end is what you're using right now to see this presentation. The front end is everything you can see with your eyes. The back end is something that is going to happen on a remote server where your website or your app is going to be is going to live. All your secrets, all your API keys, all your passwords, they should never be on the front end. Anything that happens on the front end will be visible to the end user with just a right click. And if you are just trying to build an MVP using an online tool like Lovable or P0, whatever, they are not going to be creating a backend if you don't ask them to. So anytime they use a third-party service, they will put the API keys and the passwords inside the code that is going to end up on the user's device. And obviously, you don't want to do that. But this is what happens when you use tools that you don't understand. So be very safe, yeah, and keep this front end, back end schema in your head. Fourth problem is the SaaS obesity trap when you are trying to build something where you want to add one more feature and one more feature and one more feature. Shipping features feels free and fast, so you want to build everything, and then your app becomes bloated, confusing, and unmarketable. One of my customers wanted to build an app for cosmetic surgery, and he spent 6 months adding 1 million features even though he didn't have enough one customer. He thought, oh, maybe it's nice to give the manager more rights than the employees. Maybe the managers could see what the employees are doing. Maybe it would be nice if we could have an organization and then we could move employees through organizations. Like he had all this premature optimization ready in his head when he didn't even have one customer. Really, please never do that. First of all, it's bad for your code and it's bad for your business. Please make sure that you have customers before you ship anything, really, or at least potential customers. The user value matrix, yeah, never ship a feature unless it serves at least 80% of your active users. Please do this. This is, I would say 50% of the entrepreneurs that I have met have failed because of this. Don't ship something that people don't want. If you have to remember one, that's the one. Next problem is the hidden tax trap. It's exploding infrastructure costs. So building something is very quick at first if you just want to build an MVP. And the AI is going to write code that works, but not code that is efficient. So 5 users, it's going to be it's going to be pennies. 500 users can trigger a surprise 10,000 server or API bill if you don't manage it correctly. That is right. Your cloud infrastructure can spike very high, especially if you're using remote AI services like Gemini or OpenAI. Myself, I had a $600 bill because I had a loop that I didn't close very well. Didn't enjoy waking up in the morning because of that. So if it's possible, write your function, ask your AI to minimize external API calls, minimize database round trips. And another thing that didn't mention here is to have some caching. either cache the database results or cache the answers from any third party that you will be using. So, for example, you don't need to, if you want to know the weather around your city, well, if the user asked if the user was sent the answer 2 minutes ago, the weather probably hasn't changed in the last 2 minutes. So make sure that some responses can be cached inside of your system. I understand this is not the first thing you might want to do because obviously if you want to build for speed, uh, this is always something you can do later, but keep in mind that your infrastructure can cost a lot. The next one is golden handcuffs. It's a bit the same thing when you have an unvenerable code base. When you try to graduate from AI and hire a senior developer of agency, it's going to tell you it's unmaintainable and charge $50,000 to rewrite it. So this might not be as true as in the past, but if you are um, tied to one certain technology, then you are really having your hands tied because the prices can increase anytime. Even Twitter struggled a lot because of their scale, because they had a lot of different code structures, and then they had to rewrite their framework, which took a lot of time. So I know you're not Twitter, but still, it's very nice from the very beginning to tell your AI which technology to use. If you don't do that, AI is just going to use what it finds on the internet. I like to tell it to use vanilla Next.js and Suba-based patterns. Feel free to choose other technologies, but you have to name them very clearly from the very beginning. This one is pretty bad. It's the due diligence deal killer, the zero valuation SaaS. So hopefully one day your SaaS is going to work and you're going to want to either sell it or have a VC invest in it. Well, here's the thing, when you do this, they are going to want to look at the code, and if they don't find any documentation about the safety of your code and the quality of your code, then your valuation will plummet and the deal might even die. They say in mergers and acquisitions, 20% of tech acquisitions are going to stall or have severe price reductions during the technical due diligence phase because of poor code health. As I said, poor code health means that you're going to have higher costs to add more features, you're going to have more bugs, but also there's going to be some safety issues, and you will be liable if there's any data leak, because your AI created poor code. And imagine you want to buy a shop and you agree on a price, and then when you walk inside of the shop, you realize it's so messy that it's going to take you 15 minutes to find a pen and paper. You're not going to trust this shop, and even if you really buy it, then you're not going to want to pay a lot of money for it because you know there's going to be so much rework that's going to be involved in the future. Uh, uh, One way to solve this is to buy a buyer-ready repository. So I'm in the process of building one. So feel free to subscribe and shoot me a comment if you want to see this. Instruct your AI to maintain updated changelog.md and generate automated test scripts for core business flows. Yes, you could absolutely tell your AI to create some tests and to write down the logs, which is also going, by the way, something which is not written here. The fact that you do this means that when you start reworking on your AI app, the fact that you have a changelog.md means that you can start a new conversation from the very beginning, which means it's not going to have to upload all the code every time, and it's going to cost you less tokens and less money on the long run. And you're also going to have less hallucinations. So it's very good to force the AI to write a log of things that are currently being changed. Finally, here's my conclusion. If you're not a vibe coder, if you're not a coder, but you just want to build something, I get that. Everything that I said might be a bit scary. You don't need to learn, you don't need to know everything that I said. You don't need to learn everything. What you do need to understand is that the AI is not your friend. I see it as this very eager 20-year-old coder who just joined your team and who's very eager to please you and who's gonna create anything you tell it to create. It's never going to tell you that you're doing something stupid, and it's never going to go against you, and it's never going to think about safety or about scaling or about optimization or about creating something the users doesn't want. So it's your job to become a product architect and not just a prompt writer. The truth that AI is going to give you speed, but you are the one who needs to give it directions, security, and value. So even if you don't understand coding, you need to understand that there's a difference between front end and back end. There's something called premature optimization. There is something called um, bloating and building something without a system. There are systems that can help you. I spoke about GSD and Paul. So you don't need to know everything, but the first step is to pick one escape from this deck and implement it today. And I can guarantee you that you will be creating better quality code and you will be going way faster, even if it's going to feel slower at the beginning. I can guarantee you that in my industry, we say that the only way to go fast is to go well. This used to be the religion in my previous company, a company that exited in less than 3 years, by the way. So if you need any more help, feel free to drop me a line. I would be happy to speak about your projects. My name is Ben. Please subscribe. It's free and it helps me going, keeps me going. Bye bye.